Hi everybody, welcome to Journal Through It. I'm Kim Santini and I'm here at my kitchen table makeshift studio where I've been filming these Journal Through It lessons for the last couple of months. So I'm really excited to be sharing this morning's lesson with you. Journal Through It is a series of art journaling classes that Art Goodwin and myself have been preparing and live streaming since the middle of March. We've been sharing our art journal practice during the onset of the COVID pandemic here in the US and through the political unrest and all of the feels that have accompanied these shifts in our world over the past few months. So welcome again. Really happy that you are here. If you are a new viewer, I'm even more excited to be sharing today's lesson with you. Repeat offenders, I'm happy that you keep coming back and that your journals continue to grow as you use them to express some of your feelings and emotions during this time. So there are over 40 lessons right now in the Journal Through It sessions, and they are all over on, they're all archived or linked over on my website. Like I mentioned, Ardith Goodwin and myself have been putting these together. I've got a complete archive with direct links to all of the videos right on my website. It's KimberlySantini.com. I think you can see it here. And there is a Journal Through It page dedicated right to the site. So we've been bringing these lessons to everybody free of charge. It's very important to us that no matter one's circumstances, you have the opportunity to access art and arts instruction. However, if you are in a situation to make a donation, we welcome that, and there is a pay what you can button right on my website. So thank you for that. Last lesson, look at what we did together last week. We shifted from my normal approach to art journaling of using a visual color and shapes sort of approach to making a page, and we really focused on text last week, and we sought out words of meaning and significance. We took selected phrases or extractions, edited pieces from prayer, songs, poetry, other sorts of things, and we created sort of a vision board using all of these phrases that were meaningful to us. So those of you who shared your pages, they were very compelling. Thank you for doing that. I thoroughly enjoyed and was moved by the things that you wrote and collected in your pages. So thank you for sharing those. And this week, what I would like to share is a finger painting technique that is going to help us celebrate the diversity of humanity. So what we are going to be doing is using some acrylic paints. You'll see I've got a couple of them gathered here. But meanwhile, as we settle into this lesson, I would like to invite everybody to take a minute and say hi on the stream. Let us know where you're from. And also speak up if you've been keeping a journal during this time, whether it's a diary or an art journal. I would love to know whether or not this is something that you have been doing the last couple of months. So speak up and share that with us. Now, I know the concept of finger painting means paints. However, if you don't have access to paints, you are welcome to try this approach with crayons, markers, colored pencils, whatever tools that you have. I think one of the key components is diversity and the range of colors that we can get, but you can also embrace diversity with a variety of marks, different values going from lights to darks and other things. So I'll talk a little bit more in depth about that at the end of the lesson, but I want to make sure that everybody understands just because I'm approaching or teaching the lesson with paints does not mean that you have to then take it word for word and run with it and do it the exact same way as I'm presenting it. One of the things I love so much about journaling is that this space is for you to do whatever feels best for you. And so I'm going to share an approach and a technique, and you can choose to use it as I do, or you can carry it further and tweak it and turn it into something completely your own. My lesson is just a suggested starting point. So I have a variety of paints that I have on hand. These are, the majority of them are Golden brand paints, although I think I do have a Holbein and I have a interactive paint as well. But these are all water-based acrylics. Because my paints are not non-toxic, I'm going to be protecting my skin. With finger painting, because you're putting your hands, your skin directly in the product, you want to protect yourself. Unless you know for a fact that your paints are safe, if they're children's paints and they're going to be non-toxic. Some types of paints are labeled as non-toxic. Mine are not. So I'm going to cover my skin, and because I have these tiny little ridiculous dinky fingers and hands, the typical latex gloves, even the small ones, they swim on my hands. So I have these convenient little finger coverings that I discovered when my husband practically sliced his fingertip off years ago. He's fine now, but this is just like a finger from a glove. So if you don't have gloves and you want to finger paint and you're not certain about the safety, go ahead and take like a lunch bag, a sandwich bag, or a piece of saran wrap or some sort of plastic. You can wrap it around your finger and that will work. You just want to create a barrier so that your skin is not absorbing any of the potentially toxic things in your paint. Just like we don't eat our paint, we don't want to slather our skin with it either. So I have my protection on, and I have a little palette here where I've laid out a few colors in advance. So you'll see, like, I've got about a thumbnail, half of a thumbnail size of each of these paints out. And I'm just gonna work directly. I'm gonna mix with my finger and I'm gonna apply with my finger. And I think I should probably add right now too that if you have any questions as you watch me go along with this, feel free to pop them into the comments, and I'll review or scroll through them all and answer them at the end of the lesson. So you might think that painting a person or a figure is kind of complicated, but it really isn't. It's a pretty simple, straightforward thing. So what we're going to approach here is we're going to be working with the idea of a figure. We're not doing any sort of photo representational drawing here. We are just going to do sort of like a silhouette shape. So we have a head. Where's my rag? A head is just a simple, let me do another one down here. You just load your finger up with paint and you push and you leave a head shape. The fingerprint itself is, oh no, I do still need that. The fingerprint itself is going to be the whole shape of the head. Let me adjust this clip so my paper lies flat. And then for the body, what you're going to do is you're just going to load your paint up, and I'm just picking up tiny little bits and mixing it directly here. Load my paint up on my finger, and now I'm going to touch the paper and I'm going to drag it down, and I might roll my finger a little bit too. And I'm going to get an interesting shape there. It looks a little bit like a torso. In some instances, it can be, if I roll it even more, it looks a little bit like a t-shirt or a tunic or a dress or a robe. But the idea isn't here, we're not trying to be perfect or exact. For one thing, this is finger painting. Finger painting is about having fun, about moving the paint, about having a really visceral experience with the paint. We are practically touching it, and we're just playing. Here's another head and a body. You want to work from the top of your page down, because as you can tell, as I'm layering or as I start building these shapes up, I'm going to be layering them over top of each other. So these shapes up here, these circular shapes, these heads were done first, and then the bodies were dragged down, and then there was another layer of heads laid in and bodies done, sort of like how I'm doing down here. For mixing, I'm just picking up a tiny bit of paint on my finger and I'm mixing it in a puddle here. If you do not have a palette, you could do this on a piece of wax paper. You could do this on a paper plate or a bit of plastic, like a Tupperware container. You don't have to have any fancy art supplies here. And I'm just mixing the color directly with my finger, and every time I go back to my palette, I'm trying to pick up a little bit of something else and change my color. That's what's going to give me the diversity, the range of colors and marks. And you'll notice that I'm not really approaching it from a this is a figure that I'm painting standpoint. I'm kind of working haphazardly. Let's add a body to this guy. Touch and drag down. Based on how much paint you have on your palette, touch and drag down. Or on your finger, you may get a really juicy sort of mark. Here, let me add a really juicy mark over here. Touch and drag down. Do you see how much more paint I could drag down because I had more paint on my finger? I can also stretch it up a little bit. There. Now that this figure looks like their hand is raised almost. The other thing that I can do is I can layer fingerprints. So I have a, let me find one that's a little bit more color. Well, you know what, let me mix a darker color first, and then I can layer those. So a head could actually be more than one fingerprint mark. So here, let's put this head here. Yeah, I didn't have enough paint. There we go. So I have this mark here, and I'm going to make it a big one. So I'm sort of pressing my finger into the page and I'm rubbing it. And I don't know if you can tell off camera, but I'm wiping I have a rag here and I'm wiping my finger off in between. So I've put a bigger mark down, and now I've gone over to my palette. I've picked up something lighter in value than my original mark, and I'm just going to put a little smaller mark right there. Now I have a face with a little bit of a hairstyle or hair happening. And now I can go in here and I can add a body. And go back up here. So by layering the marks, we're creating context or a little bit of visual excitement that tells a story of a crowd of people that are differently dressed. Everyone's got, this is no school uniform page here happening. Everybody's got their own style sense. And I'm just going to continue to layer these marks in this fashion. This is a really bossy blue. Let's see what happens. Ooh. That's really dark. That right there. You'll also notice that as I'm building my faces up, my faces are not evenly positioned, or I'm trying to keep them so that there's no sort of pattern or predictability to the nature of how these faces are going to line up. I'm staggering them. Ooh, look at how pretty that is. That darker orange stripe that happened right there because of how the paint was on my finger. I'll pick up a little bit of yellow here. The other thing that I'm going to challenge you to do is to try not to think literally about skin tone. I think artwork is far more exciting when we step away from the literal aspect of what it is that we're creating or painting, and we give the viewer a little bit less information. It challenges the viewer to think, and it also gives them the space to bring in their own story. It makes the image a little bit more relatable. I always feel like if there's a face or facial features or something in here, like if I were to add eyes or nose or mouth to this, to something in here, then all of a sudden that becomes an individual, a very specific individual, and as a specific individual it stops becoming universal or anybody, well, it could be anybody, and it becomes someone with a name and a story. And sometimes that's an important element in a work of art, but in this particular setting or scene, it's not something I want. I want this to be a crowd of anonymous people gathering peacefully. So, as I paint, Blue is saying hello, my dog. He's feeling a little whimpery today, a little neglected. Sorry, Blue, I'm painting. You need to get down, my love. So, as I'm painting, I am also thinking about people in my life. People in my life, people of significance, people who touched me in some way.
Wait.
Somebody like my Aunt Mary, who used to show up when I was a kid with crayons, and I remember she always wore a powder blue suit, and she had this lovely cloud of white hair. I don't even know if this is true, this is just how I remember her. Lovely cloud of white hair and a powder blue suit. So I'm gonna put a hint of an Aunt Mary here. There she is. So think about the people in your life, the abundance of people that you've had in your life, and if you can't recall exactly how they look, that's totally okay. What matters is that you're thinking about them, that you're putting that intention out into the world, that you're thinking about the people who love and supported you as you're making this page. Let's see. And the other thing that I want to challenge you to do is to think about all the people who have been marginalized in our world. There's so many populations, and so many instances of this in more ways than just skin color. I mean, think about religion and cultural marginalization, sexual orientations, even politics. Think about people who have been marginalized and invite them. Invite them to the crowd. Invite them to come participate in the conversation. And as I paint this, I am thinking about a pleasant little hum of conversation. There's laughter here. I want a deeper red too. There's laughter here. I'm seeing people hugging each other, people touching each other. Really miss that, still being under quarantine here. Oh yeah, see, look at that red. This is what we needed right here. I'm seeing people listen. I'm imagining the stories that they're telling. It gives me a very peaceful feeling to be a witness to a crowd like this, a community of compassion. So, vary your shapes, vary your people, vary their placement. Experiment with using different fingers if you wish, different parts of your fingers, different parts of your hand, and build yourself a page that celebrates the beautiful variety of humanity that we have in our world. Now, if you don't have paints to work with, like I said, you can use crayons, you can use markers, you can use colored pencils. There's all sorts of ways that you could approach building this same little, let me get a pen here, same little silhouette of, like a head. Here's a head, it's got some hair, and there's a body. And the body is just like a cylinder shape. Here's little Aunt Mary, her face with her cloud of white hair and her blue suit. So, think about that. And when you're finger painting, we have the advantage of our tool itself being kind of blunt, so we can't get a whole lot of detail. So if you're approaching this with markers or crayons or tools that facilitate detail, I'm going to challenge you to eliminate it, to not include that, to try to keep your marks loose and juicy and gestural and suggestive of a crowd. Because the beautiful thing in this piece here is that it's pretty abstract and pretty expressive, but it definitely feels like a crowd of people. So, but there are no features, there are no facial features, there's no obvious necks or any other attributes to their actual skeletal structure or anatomy, but it still has that feel. It's the bare minimum of detail that still allows it to read as a human being. So I'm going to challenge you to keep your crowd, if you're using other materials, to still keep it pretty abstracted and loose and expressive. So I'm going to move over and pull up my feed here and see if anybody has any questions. Again, if you had any questions during the demo, feel free to type them in to the comments section, and I will, or I am at this moment, I'm waiting for my phone to load it up. I am going to take a peek at them and answer them for you. Let's see, my phone's going a little slow today. Sharon, you are a newbie. Well, welcome. I'm really glad that you are here. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning, John. Hello. Joanne, hello from Wilmington, North Carolina. You are very welcome. I look forward to seeing what you create. Also, if you do create a page and you want to share it, you're welcome to take a photo of it and post it or add it to the comments thread on this particular video. You can also share it anywhere in social media. Use the hashtag journal through it, and we can all see what you've created. Every couple of days I go and do a journal through it search, hashtag search myself, because I just find it so inspiring to see what everybody is creating. So feel free to do that. Angela, you joined late. Am I using the same finger for the head and the torso? I am. I used my index finger exclusively for this whole page. That does not mean that you cannot experiment and try with other fingers, other bits of your hands. I have done finger painting where you use the side, you can use your nail. Because I had put a glove on, I had limited ability to get much other than a blunt shape. But if you're using non-toxic paints, you have tremendous flexibility in using all different parts of your hands. So great question. Hi Brian, I hope the boys are watching. Hi Dylan, hi Jakey, I miss you guys. Penny, hello from Upper Michigan, waving to you from Lower Michigan. Winnie, your paints are a little hardened. Okay, well that's a good question. How do you soften them up? I'm going to assume that the paints that you're using are acrylic. You can soften them up with a little bit of water. Acrylic paints will tend to harden as they age, as well as they dry out. That's just a product or a result of the moisture in the paints evaporating. So you can try to renew them with a little bit of water yourself. And what may happen is they may still be pretty clumpy. You may not be able to get a smooth, buttery sort of consistency like I have here with newer paints. But give it a shot. Now, be careful not to add too much water, because adding water is going to make them transparent, and then you won't be able to get some of these lovely opaque, juicy marks. Transparent acrylic paints will handle and look and feel a lot like watercolors. But that said, you could also embrace the hardened aspect of your paints and use that and get some great texture happening, and a completely different style of marks as well. So I look forward to seeing what you do with those paints. Michelle Hunt, you're asking if this is a mini wet palette system. It is. This is, and I know it's going to be backwards because of the camera. This is the lid to my Masterson Stay Wet. This is their smaller size. I want to say it's about an 8x10 palette, and it has a little sponge underneath it that keeps my paints nice and damp when they're open. It's a great tool to keep acrylic paints alive a little bit longer. So I'm glad you saw that, Michelle. Mary, you want to know if this is an entire book of brown paper. Actually, no. This is I'm going to relocate some things so I can show you about this journal. This is a super special journal. So this is, let me take my clip off of here. This is a hardbound book. It's made by Ranger. Let me move it into your camera screen. I want to say it's about 10 by 15 inches, but all of the spreads in the book, or all of the pages, are different papers, including different fabrics. By the way, as I'm going through these, a lot of the pages here are things that I've done as journal lessons and journal through it, just as an aside. But each of the pages in this book is a different type of paper. This book is made by Ranger. It's called a Dina Wakely journal, and it's a mixed media. It's either mixed media or a media journal, but you can see how beautiful all the different papers are, and it gives you a really great opportunity to explore expression in a completely different way than what a traditional book would provide. So I absolutely love, 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 love this book. And you can get it in different sizes. I think this is the biggest that it comes. So, Brian, how should it look when I'm done? Hi, Kim, love Jake. Hi, Jakey. It's gonna look however your personal idea or feeling is about a crowd. So think about people, think about maybe the kids in your classroom, Jake, or the children in the schoolyard, or the people you see on your walk to school or when you walk the dog. Think about those people and think about the colors of them and the colors of their skin as well as the colors of what they're wearing, and gather them together on your page. Maybe your page, people are a little bit further apart because that's what you've been seeing and experiencing the last few months. Think about your feelings about getting back together. If you want to get back together with your buddies, I'm sure you're going to want to be closer together. So your page is going to end up looking a lot about your own feelings about being together in a crowd and being back together with people. It's also going to be a reflection of your actual hands, because your finger painting, your marks are controlled or shaped by your finger. It's different than using a paintbrush or a crayon that everybody has the same shape. Your hands are your own tools, and the pressure that you put the paint down with, how much paint you load up on your finger, whether you push it, whether you push it and drag, whether you push it and roll, or maybe you push and roll and drag, or maybe you just slide. Take some time and play, and don't feel like the first one that you start is the only one you do. Get a whole bunch of different pieces of paper out and play with the different sorts of marks that you can make, and then figure out how you want to do another one. Like, take everything that you learn and build it into creating another new piece. It's a constant process. So please send me a picture of what you do, Jake, and you too, Dylan, okay? Jessica, can you tell me where I got the finger glove? Yes, I will tell you. They came they're in the first aid section of like with bandages and adhesive wrap and gauze, and I can't remember what they're called, but it's considered a first aid element for when you literally slice the top of your finger off and it's stitched back on and you can't wrap it. You need to have plastic over it to keep it healing. So anyway, first aid at a drugstore. Hi, Lori. Melissa, I'm so glad that you and Ruby are watching. Give her a big squeeze for me. Hello, Mary. Angela, I'm really glad that you were able to join me. Thank you, thank you. Mary says they're called finger cots. Thank you, Mary. I didn't have the box anymore. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon's saying it too, and so is Jeannie. See, everybody knows what they are, except for me, but now I do. Finger cots. So, there you go. I will be coming back to this thread in the video today and answering any questions that may come up. I have it set so I get a notification when you comment. I will also see any pages that you happen to add or post to the thread. I'm really looking forward to seeing those. If this is your first Journal Through It lesson, and you're intrigued about the idea of journaling, or maybe some of the pages that you saw in my book, this is just a fraction of what we have been doing over the past couple of months. There's over 40 lessons on KimberlySantini.com, at the Journal Through It page. Let me pull this out again. All of the lessons have direct links to the live videos, so you can take a peek at them. I encourage you, if this is something new and you're intrigued by it, you want to learn more about establishing a journal practice or seeing more of some of the things that we've been doing in all sorts of media, all sorts of types of paper, types of books. We made our own journals. We have been working on loose pages. I mean, I'm telling you, we've hit a whole huge variety of approaches. So it's all there on the site. The lessons are entirely free. Please share them. It's important to us that everybody have an opportunity to participate and to get a little taste of the healing properties of art and how powerful a practice of art journaling can be. So thank you for tuning in and watching today's lesson and embracing diversity and gathering as human beings together. I'm looking forward to getting back out into the world and giving some bear hugs, let me tell ya. Next journaling lesson will hopefully be Ardith on Monday at 11 o'clock her time, which I'm doing translation here in my head. It would be 1 o'clock Eastern. Now, Ardith is in the middle of moving a studio, so depending on where she's at with respect to supplies and workspace, I'm really hoping that she's going to be here on Monday, and as is she. But her game plan right now is Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern, and I will be back on Thursday at 11:30 Eastern. So looking forward to journaling together with you again in the coming week. Meanwhile, please stay well, stay safe, and let's journal through it. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Bye.